So there are indications that we are near the peak, if not at the peak, and we should be relieved that the number this week did not double from last week. Otherwise, we'll be at 24,000 or 22,000 this week.
Health Minister Ong Ye Kung on the latest COVID-19 wave that isn't as severe as the one before. Sold within a week, Marine Parade gets its first ever $1 million HDB flat. And fancy a bowl of beef noodles, it's one of 9 new recipients of the GOURMAND Award. Welcome to The Big Story. I'm Haryanto Diman. Subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you will not miss an episode. Singapore's current COVID-19 wave, which hit sooner than expected, is not as severe as the previous wave of infections. And Health Minister Ong Ye Kung tells Parliament today we are near or at its peak.
For this current wave, our assessment is that it will not be as severe as the Omicron wave we experienced earlier this year. This is because many more of us have gained stronger immunity either through booster shots or recovery from infections. And this will significantly impede the circulation and transmission of the BA.4, BA.5 viruses. In South Africa, the second Omicron wave, driven by these 2 subvariants, was approximately a third of the peak of the previous Omicron wave. But every country's experience will be different and unique. But we have good reason to believe that this will be a smaller wave than the last. Today's Tuesday. Tuesday is always the day where cases spike up. We should expect at the end of today case numbers of over 12,000. This is a tad higher than the same time last week, which was 11 over 1,000. So 10% more than last week. So there are indications that we are near the peak, if not at the peak, and we should be relieved that the number this week did not double from last week. Otherwise, we'll be at 24,000 or 22,000 this week.
And in order to avoid overly stressing hospital capacity, Singapore is relying on 2 strategies: ensuring healthcare institutions are prepared to ramp up capacity, as well as maintaining high vaccination and booster coverage. Mr. Ong says there are still 60,000 seniors aged 60 and older who haven't taken their first booster. If there is a need to reduce the infection rate even further, he says more stringent measures will be implemented, like reinstating group size limits and masks outdoors. 2 months after Olympic champion Joseph Schooling called for a national dialogue on national service to manage the expectations of athletes serving NS, Defence Minister Ng Eng Hen says MINDEF is prepared to allow more national athletes to train for international competitions during their full-time NS. But they must complete their NS duties satisfactorily.
Everyone, regardless of talent or status, must fulfill their NS obligation as a first priority. And all personal pursuits must be secondary to this during their full-time national service. And based on this understanding, for sporting talent who bring national glory to Singapore, we can and have allowed limited deferments and disruptions, but without compromising their NS obligations. I am proud that our national athletes understand and accept this duty of national service. None of them has asked to be exempted from national service duties, including those who trained hard and participated in recent regional and international events. They understand that everyone must fulfill their NS duties, even if you are a sporting or art talent. I also know that our national sportsmen want to do well in both, fulfill their national service duties, and also win medals for Singapore, at least some of them. Some have achieved it, but it's not easy to attain, and we must not set unrealistic expectations on all of them. However, for those who want to pursue both goals, MINDEF is prepared to allow more to disrupt, to train and compete in international competitions during their full-time national service. This is on the understanding that they fulfill the full period required after the disruption and also perform the NS duties satisfactorily while in national service.
6 people were killed and more than 30 wounded in a shooting during a Chicago 4th of July parade celebrating Independence Day in the U.S. The gunman was perched on a rooftop overlooking the main street of Highland Park. The suspect was arrested after a manhunt and he's been identified as 22-year-old Robert E. Crimo III. Speaking at his first weekly news conference as Hong Kong's chief executive, John Lee says Hong Kong will look into shortening COVID-19 quarantine requirements for travellers. Currently, the city still imposes a 7-day hotel quarantine on arrival at the traveller's own cost. The city's health secretary also hopes the border with Shenzhen will reopen before August 4th Qi Si Festival, a move that would mark a significant relaxation of China's strict border controls. Marine Parade recording its first $1 million sale for an HDB unit with a 5-room flat at Block 28 Marine Crescent, changing hands for some $1.1 million. Sitting on the second highest level, the 24th story unit has just 51 years and 9 months left on its 99-year lease. Despite the short lease, the property agents say that the view was what attracted buyers and allowed them to close the deal within a week. The buyers are a Singaporean couple who plan to live out their retirement years there and don't mind the aging lease. Leong Chun Sian, the first man to admit to his role in last year's OCBC phishing scams, has been ordered to undergo reformative training for at least a year, during which he will be detained in a centre and follow a strict regimen that can include food drills and counselling. The judge notes that while Leong is still young, he had committed serious offences and deterrence was necessary. Now, if you're looking for inspiration for your next meal, well, look no further. The Michelin Guide has added 9 new names to its Bib Gourmand list this year, comprising 5 restaurants, 3 hawker stalls and 1 street food stall. In total, there are 67 Bib Gourmand locations in Singapore, not bad for a tiny island nation. Now, among the new ones are stalls selling beef noodles and Teochew fishball noodles at the Kim Kiat Palm Market and Food Centre.
开心咯，他们上网就开心了吗？对不对？我也觉得很好嘛，也可以给我们的生意好一点。
没有去注意这种东西，只是卖了就飞，卖了就回了。有听人家讲这个什么好了，我说好像牛泽水，人家是说拿到这个了就可以卖什么好价钱了。我说，哎呀，不可以这样了，做生意要就好好做。就我自己来看了，我是说我不会了，我不会这样了。要做就好好做了，不管他拿什么奖也好，你的东西就是直接这样做了。
Food correspondent Eunice Quek is here to share more. Eunice, what does getting the award mean for hawker stalls and restaurants? Now, for instance, will they raise prices or not change anything, like what Lee Sin Teochew fishball noodles just said?
Well, the award is essentially recognition for the hard work that the hawkers and other chefs have put in over all these years. It's definitely something to keep them persevering, right? And but the thing is, whether they raise prices or not, I feel, won't be directly due to this. It's not suddenly because of some newfound fame or something like that. But if really it's because of all the rising costs in general for ingredients, which is a common issue in the industry now.
And 10 eateries from last year's list did not make the cut this year. Are you surprised by any of the dropouts?
Well, Kaso closed its flagship outlet in Outram last month, and the Coconut Club, they're known for their nasi lemak. They were actually in the midst of moving to a new location, so maybe it'll come back next year. So for those two, there's no surprises there. We expected them not to be on the list. But yes, there are some popular names that are off the list, like Balestier Road, Hoover Rojak in Whampoa, Chef Kang's Noodle House in Toa Payoh, and Depot Road, Zhen Shan Mei Laksa in Bukit Merah. Now, the last time I had a laksa, they weren't using clay pots, which is actually what they have been known for. So that was actually quite disappointing for me, and I felt that that could have cost them this year.
Now, before I let you go, Eunice, can you tell us which new restaurant or hawker stall you'll be trying out first?
Well, top of my list, definitely going to try Indonesian restaurant Kumi Bali in Tras Street. It has been around for a long time, but somehow just always off the radar for me. So that's definitely my go-to. I also plan to revisit Hainan Xing Zhou beef noodles in Toa Payoh, as I haven't had that in a long time, and clearly it is still good enough to get the Bib Gourmand.
Well, Eunice, don't forget to take me along as well. And that was ST food correspondent Eunice Quek. And those are our top stories today. Don't forget to subscribe to us by hitting the red button below. I'm Haryanto Diman. See you tomorrow for more stories on The Big Story.